Hello, my name is Mike Jones. Originally from the States. I've been exiled here to the UK. I won't go into too much of that. So like you said, I'm former Anonymous. I was one of the early members of Anonymous back when we had a clear ideology and operations. I'm former military intelligence, signal intelligence and electronic intelligence, mostly signal. I got into VoIP and voice interception as well. And I'm also a penetration tester now, and I do threat intelligence. I've been doing threat intelligence for probably about 10 years, off and on, and for private and public entities. In 2016, I woke up one morning in 2016 to a headline in the news from the International Business Times that called me a cyber terrorist. So it made things a little difficult getting bank accounts and whatnot. So one of the founding fathers of the US, Benjamin Franklin, made a statement that I think that a lot of people today have lost sight of. And it's basically giving up your liberty to the government in order to get some sort of guarantee on safety. In the US, we did a lot of that after 9/11, and it backfired on us quite drastically. So 2001, the US Patriot Act. This was supposed to be another measure to help protect the people. You know, keep your eyes open, report, and let's get more tools into the pipeline to help monitor for terrorist activities, communications, anything over the wire. But what that did was it also created a tool for malicious people who also happened to be working for the government at the NSA, who used the tools that were provided to protect the people to spy on spouses. Not really sure why. Also, after the Patriot Act was put into effect, there was a young kid in Dallas, Texas. I was living there at the time. I remember the interview quite well. He went to school and he had to build a project. The project he decided to build was a clock. And that clock was a digital clock, had wires coming off of it to connect to batteries to keep it going. Teacher saw the clock and immediately called the police and had him arrested. This is a kid in elementary school. You can imagine what went through his head. Also with the Patriot Act, we had warrantless wiretaps that were going on, telephone records that were able to be pulled. All these things fall right underneath the Patriot Act. Your library records, what you check out the library, all your financial records, email, and through this, they also added another caveat. If you see your neighbor doing something suspicious, report your neighbor. So it turned the people against each other, and it caused a lot of fear mongering. We had people that were deported. We had innocent people that were taken into custody because of the color of their skin or where they're from. It was horrible. So with that technology, the US government also kind of encourages people like Google, Amazon to consider, advancing their technology. But why? Why does the government invest in those types of companies? Yeah, they help. There's pieces of technology that are put into the public that actually help daily lives, but there's also things that completely destroy people's lives. And we're starting to see that with some of the spy cams that are coming out, surveillance cameras. Some of the warrantless wiretaps are still continuing. But with Amazon, so we did a little bit of research on different devices and how easy they are to compromise and what can be done with them. One back in 2016, I won't go into too much detail because I'm not really sure the statute of limitations, but one of them was a surveillance system at a convenience store that had gas pumps, right? So I'm looking at this surveillance feed, and every time someone goes up to the counter and makes a purchase, I see a string of numbers go across the screen on the DVR. Why is that happening? So I looked at the numbers, they were credit card numbers. So every time an individual went and bought something at the store, that was getting recorded in the DVR, and I was watching it real time. So you can imagine what happens with that data. Also, Amazon wants to put a camera and microphone in your bedroom. Not really sure who would go for that, but there are devices out there that we saw one in the store the other day. It was 50 pounds for an Amazon device that has a camera, and you can actually do video calls. Going through my background and focusing on voice interception and video interception, it's quite easy to view that video without having to be authenticated in that system at all. So some of the things that I've seen over the past year, especially in the US, is the devices and the companies that are producing these devices are not really on the up and up when it comes to operations. When you look at Amazon and Romanian workers for Amazon admitting that they listen to thousands of audio clips, of your audio clips, I never signed up for that, and thank God I didn't have Amazon at the time. Also, the police in Houston came out with this new community where if you have a Ring device, you can sign up for this community, get an app, and it also gives the police access to those Ring devices. So no longer do they need a warrant or probable cause. You already allowed them into your home. They already have your video. They know what time you leave. They know what kind of deliveries you get. And obviously they can pull your Amazon stats and see what you're ordering as well. But you can opt into that program. Opt being, the term that I want to emphasize. But they make it enticing because they give you a gift card to Amazon when you sign up. So who's not going to sign up, right? And these are some of the devices that I've messed with and done some security research on, all of which are hackable, including the Nest. The Nest is a lot of fun to mess with. This is one of the new Amazon devices with the camera and audio to do calls from your bedroom. And this is an example of the Ring neighborhood for the Houston Police Department. There was a lot of conversation around this because the police department really wanted to cut down crime. And I'm sure they do, which is a good thing. But at the same time, criminals were out there going, okay, let's wait until this whole network gets set up. I no longer need to drive through a neighborhood and case a neighborhood before I break in a house. I have access to the whole neighborhood and all the video and audio. So Facebook and Google. When Google first came out, I remember everybody signing up for Google Mail accounts because it was free. Everybody wants something free. People were fighting over invitations to get on Gmail. And the whole time, Google's sitting back laughing because people are competing to become their next product. There's targeted ads. How many of you have picked up your phone in a conversation, talking to a neighbor or whatever, and then you log into Facebook and the conversation you just had, there's products that involve that conversation. It happens all the time. That microphone is never off. And like I said, nothing is free. Absolutely nothing is free. When you sign up for a free service on the internet, your data or your profile is going somewhere else. I can guarantee it. So back to cameras a little bit. I did a lot of research around cameras back in 2016 when I was a confidential informant for the FBI. I looked at foreign surveillance cameras, mostly in the Middle East and some in Russia. The one on the left was outside of an embassy, I believe, over near Syria. Can't go into too much detail, but it just goes to show that even government surveillance systems are not that tight. The one on the right is actually a point-of-sale system in a department store in the US. So with that camera system, I was able to zoom into the actual display and see the transactions that were going across. So not only do I steal the video and the audio, but I can also get your credit card numbers. So this is a little project I did about 2 weeks ago. I was trying to find something to kind of illustrate how insecure some of these devices really are. I didn't want to go into a full-blown research article and bore you with numbers and statistics, so I thought that I would just do a brief demonstration. So there's a tool out there called CAT scan, or CAT, and it basically exploits anything that has casting capabilities, whether it be Chromecast or your smart TVs, which I like both of them a lot. So what I did, I hooked up the Chromecast to a little screen, a little TV I have, and did a scan for it, found it. I have my BBC video, which looks legitimate, and we'll break into the device and actually broadcast it with the audio. And with this, you can actually turn the volume up and down, make it really loud. There's unlimited things you can do with it. So that's what I did. I pushed it to the screen and went on to give an audio emergency broadcast of a biological virus in London. We actually ran it on the living room TV as well with my future brother-in-law, and he actually thought it was real, wanted everybody to be quiet so he could listen to what the warning was. So it can have a huge effect. One of the hotels I was in recently, every room had a card, and on that card it said every TV in the hotel has Chromecast. I had to put myself in handcuffs trying not to touch my keyboard. But if you can imagine that type of message coming up in every room at the same time, full volume, what kind of panic and chaos would ensue. So the devices that you use today, be smart about them. Look at the capabilities. I know the convenience is great. It helps us with whatever we do. Voice activation, years ago sounded really awesome until it was used against you. But take a look at the devices you're buying, its capabilities, and look at how it can be a threat to yourself. Don't buy your grandma an Alexa. Do some research. Figure out what it can be used for and how it can be secured. There are ways to secure some of these devices that make it a little bit more complicated to break into, but nothing's unhackable. And also, to wrap this up, the government in the US has been running listening operations for years, ever since the Cold War. They were tapping underwater cables in the ocean to listen to voice communications. They've been doing it in the US forever, and especially since the 2001 Patriot Act, which allowed them to listen to certain communications. They all kind of got grouped together, and they listened to a lot of the communications, if not all of them. And that's it. I'll leave questions for later.